Captain Forrest here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over both these combatants to see who would win more often than not in a inverse situation, Raven versus Zatanna. Now if you guys are new to my channel, please leave a like, comment down below, and of course subscribe for further content. Also shoutouts to the Cough Shop gang, their links will be in the description. Also shoutouts to the HQ squad, massive shouts to the team. They will help me in my videos and give me some thoughts and suggestions, and they always are there to have my back, of course. So much appreciated to the team. Now, how this is gonna go down, I actually made power scaling videos for both these combatants, but I figured I'd, just make things a little more easier for you guys. I will include more of a summary for both Raven and Zatanna's scaling. All of it will be in this video, so it just saves you having to check it out, but you are more than welcome to do that. And you're more than welcome to come back if that's what you want to do. It's completely up to you. Now this is going to be kind of like a gauntlet style, so I will be including not just like standard Raven. I'll talk about White Raven, talk about Unkindness Raven, and see if Zatanna could clear that mini gauntlet. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead, get right into it, and I will go ahead with the summary of Raven. Hope you guys enjoy. Let's begin. So I'm going to go ahead, start with Raven. Talk about what she has to bring to the table. I'll talk about her feats and statements. I'll also go over her standard feats, and then I'll talk about White Raven, and I'll go over Raven the Unkindness. So Raven states that if uncontrolled, her powers could destroy a universe. Raven's soul inhabits the space separating the earth and the 11 worlds of the afterlife. Raven has the power to turn the heavens to ashes. Inside Raven is another dimension, an empty void. We also go to see that Raven's good self was able to fuse with her demon self into one being. Another impressive feat for Raven was demonstrated when she encased an avatar of Darkseid in her soul self and feels Darkseid's wrath. Raven used her powers as an empath to manipulate Darkseid's soul, fusing it with Wonder Woman's mother soul. So that's going to round up standard Raven. I'm going to go ahead, talk a bit about White Raven. So due to getting amped by the people of Azeroth, Raven gets superpowered and was able to kill Trigon. Trigon is the destroyer of all that exists, and that the Baron states that that Trigon is an evil that's beyond any he's ever suffered before, and noted that Trigon will destroy the balance of good and evil, and that Trigon will destroy everything. White Raven was also able to clean herself from Trigon's influence completely, which is very impressive considering that base Raven was unable to relinquish Trigon's influence over her and her emotions. In the nexus of all dimensions, she is at her most powerful. White Raven goes on to summon the emotions of all the people on Earth and experience them all in one go. So that's going to round up White Raven. I'm going to go ahead and talk about Raven's insane and impressive form called Raven the Unkindness. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of the stuff that Raven the Unkindness has demonstrated, some of her feats, and just a little bit of the origin of how she acquired such a powerful ability and a powerful form. So the origin behind how Raven obtained this insane amp and form is through taking in the 4 riders of the apocalypse, death, famine, pestilence, and war, and then stealing the power of Shazam for herself. Billy Batson, aka Shazam, calls her the rock of the Eternity's most dangerous inmate. This was because she gained his power. The other prisoners at the time were the 7 deadly sins. Neuron states that with the Spectre killed dead, along with Shazam's power, she can enter God's realm without fear of judgment. At first glance, this could mean that the Spectre is above the Unkindness, but this could very well be talking about the version that didn't have Shazam's power as well. And later, Cyprus, Alien, Spectre literally couldn't do anything to her, so she's likely massively above the Spectre. He could also be talking about the Spectre interfering with her plans before she was unleashed as well. It's also shown Mogo was able to detect her trans-dimensional shift in trans-dimensional space. The Unkindness comes, and it's stated that it consumes every plane of existence in order to bring an end to all things. She also amped the 7 deadly sins as well to absolutely destroy Superman Prime 1 million, which is literally rebirth Superman 1 million years into the future, and Prime was the most powerful hero of that era. Superman Prime 1 million is a lot more stronger, and his cells are supercharged, giving him his unique golden form. He would also have his World Forger scaling too, which Prime 1 Million Superman would be high out of Versal, and despite all of this impressive scaling, he was no match for the amped 7 deadly sins, which are complete fodder compared to the unkindness. The most powerful pieces of the universe / creation was consumed plane by plane, dimension by dimension into the darkness of the unkindness. The unkindness is called an old god and drove her chariot through various dimensions and planes, consuming and gobbling its most powerful pieces. She even went outside the time stream as well. Since Raven was looking and eating powerful realms, you could even possibly argue that she was consuming portions, if not the whole thing of the 6th dimension, but I'll go a little bit more into that as I continue. So Phantom Stranger states that she absorbed everything in hell, leaving it a wasteland, while stating that the unkindness was more powerful than ever, leaving the Rock of Eternity. Lords of Order and other things retreat to the Tower of Fate because they knew that they were bested. Keep in mind, we see Zoriel and Angel and a 5D imp, Wonder Woman imp, or Wonder Might as she's called, implying that heaven and the 5th dimension were devoured. The Quintessence was also here, which includes the Wizard Shazam and the Spectre. They literally had to gather the scraps of the realms the unkindness left behind to rebuild. Even the Quintessence had to hide and let unkindness continue to consume more powerful realms. She was also able to consume parts of the timeline, erasing Gold Beetle, the queen of the quantum realm. Unkindness is so powerful that when she erased Resurrection Man, he couldn't even feel the peace he sought before he was no more. She goes on to easily one-shot the Wizard Shazam and Black Adam, and says that she can unravel their very existence to make them suffer for eternity. She also says that it is time for the end of all things. Raven notes that the unkindness caused the end of all creation, ravaged all of the time and tide, and consumed every thread of existence. Okay, so that's going to round up Raven in terms of her impressive destructive feats and forms. Let's talk about her speed, hexes, and resistances, and any other miscellaneous stuff. So Raven should easily have immeasurable to irrelevant speed. Raven was able to tag and blitz Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan himself has demonstrated impressive speed showings of his own, such as flying to the future without his lantern, and can travel a timeless, distanceless barrier in an instant. Raven is able to react to Starfire and avoid her attacks, and Raven has tagged the Teen Titans with her powers. So that's going to round up speed. I'm going to go ahead and talk about her abilities. So Raven has some impressive showings with her magic powers, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of those. So Raven learned the secrets of instant teleportation and has demonstrated to teleport and travel to different realms. She's used her teleportation in combat to also avoid attacks. Raven is able to sense portals. She's able to teleport to realms such as Azeroth, which is an outer-versal distance. Raven is able to use her soul self, astral form, which is controlled by her thoughts, though if it's captured or endangered, her real body is in danger. But later on, we discover that her soul self is a separate entity, so Raven will still be alive as long as her soul self remains. An example of this was when Hyperion shattered her soul and Raven was still alive despite the fact that it was shattered. When Raven's body died, her soul possessed another person, destroying their souls and cutting off their life. Even when Raven's body was unconscious, her soul self was still able to operate. Raven can absorb things with her soul self and even absorb people inside. Inside herself is an empty void, and it is very cold inside. While inside her dimension, she is in control, as she can torture and fear hacks her opponents. Raven can use her soul as a shield to protect herself and push her opponents away. She's even demonstrated with her soul self to turn intangible to escape Hal Jordan's green construct cage. Her soul self has protective barriers to protect it from being corrupted by evil. Time and distance means nothing in her soul self. Raven's soul self can create dark constructs and tendrils to tag her opponents. Her soul self burns a person that was trapping souls. Raven's body and soul exists independently from each other, which explains how she's able to survive without a soul perfectly fine, and vice versa. Raven has also shown to literally use her soul self like a stand from JoJo, punching up goons. Raven's soul self can protect Raven from being possessed. Raven was able to go deep into her soul to pull out her full powers to temporarily weaken and dampen Trigon's will. Raven can BFR people to different dimensions, such as Hell and Azeroth, which the realm can drive you mad and make you feel sick. She can summon the darkness, demons, demigods, and allies to fight for her in combat. She even teleported the Teen Titans to help her one time too. Being an empath, Raven is able to use empathy manipulation. She is able to swallow up a crowd of people's emotions. She can alter people's emotions, such as making Wally fall in love with her. She can sense pain, evil, and danger. Raven is able to heal people by using her powers as an empath to draw the pain to herself and then expel the pain. She is able to calm people down with her powers. Raven can sense multiple people at a time and can sense their power. Raven also has sleep hacks. She was able to put the god Rhea to sleep and calm her bloodlust. Raven can dig deep into your deepest subconscious and can reach into your mind and alter it. She can sense your deepest fears and exploit them. Raven's powers work on a spiritual level. Raven has mind hacks the Teen Titans with nightmares. Raven overall can affect and alter people's emotions. She's able to fear hacks and scare her opponents away. She's able to shatter the Titan's soul. Raven can fill her opponents with mindless rage, making them both fight each other. She's able to read people's minds and extract information from people's minds, and she can also create illusions and off-guard her opponents that way. She can use telekinesis and also create barriers for defense. She can create dark tendrils to attack her opponents. Raven can manipulate curses. Her powers are based in magic, and she's demonstrated the ability to manipulate the energy of the time stream. Raven can also power null people by casting spells. Raven has also demonstrated to take control over the Batman from the Dark Multiverse's constructs and make them attack him. Raven has spiritual awareness, so she can sense a million souls, and also she can detect if she's being analyzed. Raven can also regen from injuries. Her eyes can also see invisible people. Raven has precognition, which allows her to see into the future at times, and also has a danger sense. Okay folks, that's going to round up her hacks. I'm going to go ahead and move on to her resistances. Raven goes through intense mental torture for an extended period of time as the images repeat themselves over and over and over again in her mind. She only passes out and her mind remains unbroken. Raven goes through insanity with a further step into insane as she goes through madness itself, going through the dimensions. Throughout it all, she resists it and she's able to conquer it. Raven can control her emotions in order to resist fear manipulation. She was able to resist Donna's lasso of truth, which is very impressive, and she's also resisted BFR. Raven has resisted the touch of Headache, who absorbs the minds of those he touches. Her soul self is foolproof against her brother's Hellfire. Keep in mind, Hellfire attacks the mind, body, and soul. A person who can steal powers through touch gets completely negged really badly after attempting to do this on Raven. Some other noteworthy feats for Raven. Raven was reading the emotions of the Ultima and could tell its intentions. The Ultima is an incredibly complex machine built by the monitors to travel through the bleed, and Raven was able to teleport for a night straight. Alright, so that's gonna wrap up Raven. I'm gonna go ahead and summarize Zatanna's scaling for you guys and, get right into meat potatoes with that. So let's go. There are some feats that come to mind for Zatanna, such as Zatanna defeating the Upside Down Man, which is a very impressive feat indeed, but there is some context behind this, which I will cover today. This feat she performed was not done so through pure power. She did it through her belief. The Upside Down Man was far too powerful for her, so she took him to a place where they were equals so that they would have to fight through belief. Her belief hexes is extremely potent. It's pretty much a stat equalization spell. However, the only reason it had as much of an effect on the Upside Down Man as it did was because belief was essentially his weakness. He believed that magic didn't have a cost and that he was all powerful. By infecting that with doubt, Zatanna and the rest of the Justice League Dark were able to weaken the Upside Down Man. Zatanna was also being empowered by the belief at the same time. Her magic was not only amped by belief, but the Upside Down Man was also susceptible to it. Upside Down Man was also weakened by another factor, Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing changed the reality of the other place by essentially affecting it with the green through sacrificing his own life, making the Upside Down Man even weaker. Diana while she was amped by Hecate's magic, and Dr. Fate also gave it his all in that fight. Fate not only sacrificed himself to damage the Upside Down Man, but Diana was also holding him back with all of her amplified power so that Zatanna could get her belief spell on him. Despite having some assistances from some of the other heroes, this is still an impressive feat for Zatanna nonetheless. Witch-marked Wonder Woman was strong enough to physically hurt and take an attack from the Upside Down Man. Why is this impressive? Because this same Wonder Woman could barely control Hecate's power, and it was beyond her comprehension. It was stated that portion of the power that Wonder Woman had could rip apart the world of magic and end it. The sphere of the gods is a realm that is responsible for the magic in creation and makes up the magic to begin with. Witch-marked Wonder Woman also took part in that shared effort alongside with other characters, as I mentioned. Zatanna was also successful in defeating Upside Down Man. This is all very impressive. Zatanna is called one of the 3 greatest sorcerers the world has ever known, and for one of Zatanna's greatest feats is when she literally stops time in all of creation along with 2 others. This temporarily stops all of Pirellia's time gremlins that were eating at the time stream. Keep in mind, she did this when she was heavily weakened. Zatanna, with some assistances from Constantine, both their magic was able to hold off Pirellia for a short moment. Alec brings the strongest magic users that he can think of, which is Spectre, Zatanna, and Phantom Stranger. This just goes to show that Zatanna, in her own right, is a very powerful magician. In fact, Zatanna notes that she's better than both Phantom Stranger and Nightmare Nurse in terms of power, and that she had enough power to tear a universe apart. Zatanna, with her magic, shielded not only herself, but plenty of others from a consciousness that was even beyond an angel's comprehension without much trouble. Even the Phantom Stranger said he was unable to do such a feat without tearing down the walls of reality, which Zatanna didn't do. Zatanna has overpowered Constantine and also removed Deadman from her body. Zatanna is also capable of incapacitating and damaging the Sunbreaker. The Sunbreaker managed to severely damage a person who could merge 2 universes together and was constantly holding them. Even more impressive is the fact that the Sunbreaker states that the Sun Eater, which is the thing that Parallax Hal Jordan had to pretty much kill himself to beat, was an infant of his species, and that he was grown up. She also shows his true form and attempts to make him cease to exist, but in the end, she severely damages him. Okay, so let's move on down the line to speed. Now, one of her best speed showings was when she dodged an attack from Crippus Allen's Spectre. Zatanna is fast enough to tag Aquaman and Hawkman with her magic spells, and Zatanna was able to react to and protect herself against an attack from Black Adam, who was being controlled by Xanadorth. So that's going to round up Zatanna and her stats. I'm going to go ahead and take a dive into her insane magical abilities and showings. So first off, it's been noted that Zatanna is a legend in the magic community. The title is well earned given the fact that Zatanna knows a wide variety of reality warping spells. So let's go over them. Speaking backwards is just a concentration exercise. She doesn't really need to do it to cast her spells. When Zatanna casts a magical command, it becomes reality, like the time where she chanted, "Debris plummet her, air reject her lungs, gravity pull her down," causes these things to occur onto her opponent. She's cast a spell to make the floor swallow people. She makes the audience see nothing. Her magic can transmutate and petrify people, such as turning a woman into a sloth and turning some demons into stone. She can BFR you into a different dimension by saying "get lost." She can cast magic spells without the use of words. She can make time go backwards. She can teleport to any location, such as her enemy's house. She can push people back via casting "get back" and other key phrases that would align with her intentions. Zatanna was able to track down the Spectre by feeling his presence. She can mind wipe her opponents. She can immobilize people with the magic command stop, and she can remove brainwashing. She can cast spells which let her travel to different dimensions. She was able to heal her neck wound by saying her words with blood. She notes that she's going to make the Joker vanish from the earth. In fact, during her battle with Joker, she makes herself float down, removes the poisoned gas, and turns the audience into bats to suck Joker's blood, and then she finally forcibly makes the Joker laugh. So Zatanna herself can be very ratchet when it comes to her magic. She's known to cast winds to extinguish flames. She can turn herself into a bird and back to herself, and she's also commanded Scarface to drop his own weapons. During her fight with Lobo, we see Zatanna use more sadistic magic, such as blasting rocks at Lobo, making Lobo bleed through his skin, and also makes Lobo hurt himself via a physical magical attack, reflecting spell, which reverses the physical damage back to her opponents. And she can also make herself intangible too. She was able to manipulate many dreamers and tear the demons across many dreams, and then she's able to seal them up. She can set people on fire, use size manipulation, and also cast a spell to make a demon shoot water from their mouth instead of fire. She can create magical barriers, block other magical spells, and mind hacks people as well. She can create portals to travel to different dimensions. She can break out of dreams with her magic, and she can also summon lightning too. Zatanna is able to use her magic to manipulate Red Tornado's soul, which she used his essence to fight off Amazo and defeated him. If her mouth is compromised, she can still cast spells via her blood. It's later revealed that Zatanna keeps a couple hundred different spells on her, which explains how she's able to use some of the magic spells without saying any words. She also has some death hacks, such as telling vampires to drop dead. She can shoot out magical energy. Zatanna can cast a protection spell to hold back her opponents, and she can amplify her spells by making them stronger. Zatanna can also cast a spell that would protect her from the corruption of the box that managed to corrupt pure souls like Shazam and Superman, and she also has magic sensory. She can project fragments of her consciousness along with John to a place called the Between. The Between is a void that erases all traces of your very identity across time, which is shown when she tries to summon the Justice League Dark, and they all get erased. She can also unravel spells and dissolve an enchantment. She can stabilize a hole in time and space, as she can cast a spell that extracts a person's love and erases it from all directions of time. Zatanna can turn everything upside down, which causes everything to turn upside down. She can put people to sleep by telling them to go to sleep. She can make herself warm, and she also has sealing/power stealing via using her magic to seal some demons inside of her body and also obtain their powers through this method. And lastly, Xanadoth, holding control over Black Adam's body, notes that Zatanna and Madame Andusk's magic isn't bad. Zatanna was also casting spells such as drain the mystic power away from him and banish her back to her prison for all eternity. She also momentarily shielded herself from Xanadoth's attack and even reacted and put up a force field which blocked her attacks, though she was left damaged. There's been a point in time where Zatanna was amped by chaos magic. She was able to break the panel with her power and then seal Dr. Fate's powers inside his helmet, making it so that he can only use his power with a host. Another impressive showing for Zatanna with her magic was when she demonstrated some plot manipulation where she duplicated the books in the library of Babel by adding a word to each of their pages. There are an infinite number of these books. The books in the library contain every word written and every thought not written down within their pages, which is an interesting feat for Zatanna. Zatanna is well trained in the arts of magic. She has underwent relentless training with her father and also shown to get out of straitjackets as a child. Even at a young age, she's shown to be a prodigy in the art of magic. She also has been trained to fight the other kind and other powerful enemies. Zatanna has also demonstrated some really good endurance and resistances, such as the time where Martian Manhunter got inside her mind and turned into her father. She knows it's not him, and she immediately removes Martian Manhunter from her mind. Zatanna has fought through her lungs being on fire and pushing through the pain to cast a spell. she uses willpower to fight through the pain too. Zatanna has resisted the nightmare demon, making a mess in her dreams, and when An tried to steal Zatanna's life force, it puts her into a dizzy state because of it. Before Nightmare Nurse had all traces of her existence identity erased, Zatanna revived her by taking an infinitesimal piece of her soul and adding it to her own, and then reviving her, which is an incredible feat considering she prevented that piece of identity from being erased. Now Zatanna has some really good skill under her belt. She has received combat training from the Justice League and has demonstrated hand-to-hand combat. Both Zatanna and Catwoman were able to fight some goons. Zatanna doesn't even need to use her spells, and she's also demonstrated to use hand-to-hand combat in the situation with no assistance of those spells. Okay, so that's going to round up both these combatants and their scaling. I'm going to go ahead and give my thoughts on who I think wins more often than not. Now, base Raven, starting off with her versus Zatanna. I do think Zatanna does have the AP edge, or the hack's potency in this fight. Her feats against the Upside Down Man is vastly above anything that standard Raven is showing. Yeah, at best, like, you know, Raven is fought against like Necron. Raven herself easily has some creation level scaling outer versal, maybe high outer, but I do think in terms of like the comparison of the feats, Zatanna's feat is just more impressive, and she would have more layers into the tier of the AP scaling. So I think Zatanna would take victory pretty easily. I guess like low, maybe mid diff. I just think Zatanna has a lot of versatility, a lot of creativity, a lot of variety in this matchup, especially with her magic and her reality warping abilities and the potency backing her up in her corner. So I definitely think Zatanna would beat Raven if it's just like standard Raven. Now White Raven, could argue White Raven has higher scaling. I think it's a lot more closer in my opinion, but I'd still lean a little bit more so with Zatanna. I do think Zatanna's feat is still a bit stronger compared to Raven's, like White Raven. I just a tiny bit. I definitely think it would be like moderate, maybe high diff, but I just think that Zatanna has the potency necessary to defeat White Raven. Now moving on to Unkindness Raven. This is where we do a complete 360, we do a Uno reverse. Unkindness Raven, long story short, she pretty much one-shot Zatanna. Unkindness Raven's scaling is absolutely ridiculous, especially the fact that she was completely consuming the multiverse. She was literally wreaking havoc all over creation and messing with the fifth dimension. Even, you know, depending on how you take those statements, you could even argue that she's like 6D tier even. So that's ridiculous. So that scaling is vastly above Zatanna's own like AP scaling with her magic. I think that's just going to be way too much for Zatanna to deal with. So ultimately, if it came down to like her more powerful forms like Unkindness would completely one-shot and devour Zatanna and her magic, no difficulty. However, if it just comes down to like standard Raven and White Raven, I think Zatanna would take victory in those categories. So thank you guys for watching. Those are my thoughts. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment down below, like what you see, subscribe for more content. But yeah, it's been real. See you guys in the next one. Peace.